Hello YouTube, and welcome to another Zen and the Art of Miniature Painting video. And this video is going to be a quick review and talk-through on the Mark III Legion Power Weapon set from Forgeworld. Prices will vary depending on your currency. These are £21 in the UK. And you get everything that you see before you in the set. Just a quick rundown of what you get. You get 3 power fists of various arms, so left and right. You get a pair of power lightning claws. You get 10 melter bombs, which is good for those units you want to equip with melter bombs, maybe assault marines or something like that. And then you've got 2 chainswords, which look quite short. And what I like about them, actually, and when I'll show you the close-up, you'll see why I like them. But they're pretty snazzy. They're a bit shorter than usual. You get 4 Phobos pattern bolt pistols. You get 2 power axes. Mine's actually missing a hand; it's fallen off. I can always just fix that. It's not a problem. 2 power axes and 2 very large power swords. You get the arms, left and right arms that go with them. So you get 5 pairs of arms. You get a heavy chainsword, which is just awesome. Looks like an eviscerator type thing. Thunder hammer. Then you get 2 hand flamers, 2 plasma pistols, and 2 Volkite serpentas. And then finally, you get 2 sort of gladii, so gladiuses, short sort of power swords, a power maul, and then a sheathed gladius as well, which is quite great if you're doing something like the Ultramarines, who have quite a Romanesque look to them. So let's have a little bit of a close-up look at everything that you get. So I thought we'd start with the boring bits, and these are the arms. So as you can see, they're Mark III arms. They've got the vambraces that are slightly more armoured. I think actually that you could use these on Marines in different marks of armour, maybe even the more modern ones if you really wanted to. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think specifically if they're wielding something like a heavy chainsword, it might be feasible that they've got sort of armoured forearms, vambraces, that kind of thing, because they expect it to be in close combat. So really cool looking arms. Now, as to how they fit together, I suspect it is a bit of trial and error. They do have the little notch system, which we've seen in the Mark II arms, which makes me think that they do match up when they do need to. So you've got sort of there and there, you've got little dots and holes to kind of give you a sense of which arms go with which. But because these guys might be carrying individual weapons, I think it's not necessarily as important, but it's there if you want it. I think certainly for the heavy chainsword we'll see in a moment, it does matter. Okay, so we'll turn our attention now to the heavy chainsword and the thunder hammer. Now this heavy chainsword is one of my favourites, and if you have any friends who are collecting Night Lords, they'll probably pester you for these. But what I really like about this is just not only the sort of awesome pose that the arms are in. You can just imagine that guy swinging it. If you look at the angle of the arm, it looks like it's probably raised over the right shoulder. But what I like about it is that most chainswords, certainly in the 40k universe, they have this back bit actually ends up here, so all you see of exposed teeth is kind of the top and the edge like that. But with these Mark III ones, they've actually got an exposed back end as well, which is really cool. So this is, and then you just look at that hilt guard. That is so awesome. Now there's a bit of flash on here, but you can clean that up easy enough. We're all pretty much used to that now with Forgeworld. But yeah, an exceptional piece which can be used for lots of different things. So you can include them in your assault squads if you want to, for 40k, not just 30k. And again, the armoured forearms might just fit in really. Thunderhammer, pretty standard, nothing special here. What's really great about it is it's just a hand, so you can use this in 40k. You can also fit it to pretty much any miniature you want, so it's not specific to Mark III. But unlike the Mark IV one, which has a round head, this has got a nice square one, so it fits that kind of more blocky aesthetic that you see with the older marks of armour. While we're on the topic of awesome looking chainswords, you've got 4 Phobos pattern bolt pistols here, 2 left-handed, 2 right-handed, and then you've got these awesome short swords, these little chainswords. Now they are actually shorter than a normal chainsword, and I really like that fact. They are short swords, and they've got that exposed rear as well. Just really cool looking. One left hand there and one right hand there, and again you can, because these are just simply hands, you can join them to anything you want. A Space Marine hand is a Space Marine hand regardless of the arm that they have, so these will be really useful. What I like about them specifically is they've got a slightly machete-esque kind of shape. If you look, they broaden out forward and then back, they kind of narrow back towards the base, which gives it a really sort of malevolent look, I think. Very brutal. And then we'll just keep it with swords for now and axes. We've got 2 power axes. Mine broke off. This is really thin resin, so it's likely to happen, as you can imagine. And then these really long power swords. Now these, I imagine, because you can see there's enough space for another hand, I'm thinking these are kind of 2-handed swords, maybe a paragon blade, that kind of thing. Again, a left and a right hand. And what's really nice about these left hand right hand combinations is Forgeworld are really giving you a lot of freedom, and because they're cross compatible with pretty much everything else in the 40k and 30k range, you know, these are not just limited to Mark III armor. But what's nice is that these bits vary between the types of armor marks, and I must confess I'm not a massive fan of this axe head. I mean, it is very cool looking, but it's almost too Conan to fit in with my Marines, certainly. But I mean, who knows, maybe there's going to be a guy in 40k that I think might be, you know, keen to wield this. Or you could even use these bits with Chaos Space Marines if you really wanted to, because after all, some of the Chaos Space Marines that you'd be using in 40k will be wielding weapons from the Heresy, and this is a weapon from the Heresy. And then we're on to more swords. So we've got these really cool Power Gladius, right hand, left hand, and then a Power Maul, and a Sheath Gladius. Now, sheath things are quite cool because sometimes you have you know, a leader who's holding a helmet or something like that, and all you want to do is you want to give him a little bit of extra sort of accoutrement to make him look more martial, and I think that this is really cool. I suppose you could also, if you really wanted to, chop off that the hilt and just have an empty scabbard, which is another option. So something to look out for. The detail on these are pretty amazing. I mean, if you look at these, just the kind of the lovely sort of hilt, it's very reminiscent of Roman gladius, the pommels and that stuff as well. So that's really cool. I'm looking forward to using these with my Ultramarines because they will fit in perfectly. And again, I can't get enough of this sheathed sword. I know I shouldn't get that excited. What's good as well, as I said in some of the other bits, is that you've got hands. You can use these in anything you want. And then if we look at the Power Fists and the Lightning Claws, the Power Fists are quite nice because they're not just grasping their hands. This is the most common Power Fist pose pretty much across the range, but it's nice to sometimes see them with open hands, that kind of thing. It gives it a sense of gesture, I think. And these are just amazing. I mean, if you look at these Edward Scissorhands Lightning Claws, they look so menacing, and I am really looking forward to using these. Now, I must confess, I probably won't use them with my Ultramarines because they look a little bit too malevolent, but and also, to be honest, Lightning Claws doesn't really fit with what I want from Ultramarines, but I can totally see myself using these for some other stuff. And if you look here, you can see, I'll just bring it closer, you can see there's this really cool, like, power cording section here where it's very flexible, and that'll break up the paint nicely, and these just look so wicked, and there's nice little rivets that look like they've bolted them onto a Power Fist, and I really like that. And we're almost at the end now, and we've just got some of the pistol accessories which you could use for your various sergeants and even your characters. We've got a Volkite Serpenta, Plasma Pistol, and Hand Flamer, and you get 2 of these. So what I'll do is remove one of these, because we don't need to see the same thing twice. And I'll just show you quickly. So we've got the Volkite Serpenta. Now, this is a weapon that I'm not very familiar with, because I haven't actually played 30k yet. But this is the one that I think deflagrates, which means it hops from, you know, it does additional wounds for every hit it does, or something like that, which is quite cool. And then you've got the Plasma Pistol. It's the older style one, so it's not as flat as the 40k era ones, but again, nice for if you've got some Chaos Space Marines you want to give them Plasma Pistols. And then Hand Flamers, which are usually restricted to people like the Blood Angels in 40k. Well, not so much in 30k. You can actually give these to your squads. So again, if you want to equip your assault squads in your Blood Angels with more Hand Flamers, this is a place to pillage, so that's really grand. And then finally, just some melter bombs. Nothing exciting here really. You get 10 of the same. They're just melter bombs. They're smaller than the usual melter bombs that you get on tac squads and that kind of thing, which tend to look like massive handheld things. So I think those might be used in the future, but I mean certainly as Phosphex bombs, and they just use these as melter bombs. But these are quite grand. If you want to upgrade a squad of maybe you know, assault marines or something, or even tactical marines, I suppose, if you can, if the rules allow it, to have melter bombs, these are quite nifty. And again, these are cross compatible with 40k, so it might not be that you use them in 30k, you might only use them in 40k, but you've got them nonetheless. So really, really nice. Everything's highly detailed, and I'm a big fan. Okay, so just to close out, I just want to say, give you my final thoughts. As I said, as it should have come across in the video, I'm a big fan of this kit. I think it's really great. Some people complain maybe that it's a bit expensive, but I think that the degree of use you get out of these upgrade sets from Forgeworld is just phenomenal. Most of the pieces on this set can be used in other eras. They can be used for anything from the Badab Wars to 40k. You can use them obviously in your Heresy stuff, and I think the fact that Forgeworld have made it so that essentially the hands are kind of, you know, universal. All you've got to do is trim a guy's wrist and you've got, you know, you're ready to go. So I think these are really, really good. I think they're worth the money, and I must declare myself incredibly satisfied. I think there's enough variation here to keep you going, and certainly if you buy this and you're part of a larger group, even if there's something in here that you won't use, I'm telling you now, your friends would love to put it in your bits box. Yeah, you might need to charge them in this instance because resin isn't cheap, but or trade them or something like that. Anyway, really great bits and pieces. My biggest disappointment, I think, is with a broken axe at the top, and just with axes in general, I think they look a bit naff. But there you go. Other than that, excellent stuff. So that's the end of this video. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel. Also, please have a look at the blog. It's in the show notes below. And as and when I get more stuff, I will be releasing more of these review videos. They're not in-depth reviews. I'm not sitting here telling you what you should and shouldn't buy. They're my thoughts on the items, and also just to give you a closer look at what's actually included, because sometimes the Forgeworld box, the Forgeworld art or pictures aren't 100% detailed, and there's always that gap between what you see on the website and what you actually get. So I hope this has been useful. And thank you for watching.